Dude, the second anime of the season with a mega overpowered protagonist who doesn't know he's an overpowered one. So leave a like and subscribe for part 2, and let's get to the anime. And in the beginning of it all, a boy named Kurt discusses the current situation of a certain village, which is often attacked by a Fenrir, a level S monster capable of destroying an entire city on its own. And precisely because it suffers constant attacks, this village decided to hire Kurt's team, the Flaming Dragon Fangs, to defeat the monster. And as soon as the Fenrir appears, Bandana goes after it, tying it up with its threads, in which the creature throws her against the wall, but Bandana is soon healed by the team's healer, a priestess named Marlefus, and then Bandana returns to combat, completely restraining the Fenrir. And upon seeing the motionless creature, Golnova, the flaming warrior, goes on the attack and finishes Fenrir with a blow from his sword. And after defeating Fenrir, the Flaming Dragon Fangs group began to be treated as a group of heroes by the village. However, Kurt feels that in his case, people don't usually remember him much, since Kurt is a simple child with no powers and who is in a group of heroes who stand out. And well, after taking a break at a restaurant in the village, Golnova starts complaining about the local food and then asks Kurt to make something good for him to eat. Upon hearing this, Bandana reminds everyone that this will be the last time they will have the opportunity to eat something made by the boy. At this, Kurt doesn't understand exactly what she means. And then, Golnova calls him slow and informs him that he is fired from the group. Upon hearing this, Kurt asks if he did something wrong, and Golnova says that in fact, the boy did too little, being completely useless in the previous fight they had against Fenrir. And furthermore, Golnova says that he is only good for doing stupid tasks. After all, the boy can't even kill a slime. And as for Marlefus, she explains that a group can only be formed by a maximum of 4 people, so they will need to remove Kurt and put a high-level wizard in his place, as only then will the group be able to continue becoming stronger and stronger. And after being expelled from the group, Kurt began to travel around without having a destination in mind. And when he finds himself needing to earn money to survive, Kurt goes to a hello job company and then goes through a quick interview with the local receptionist. But as soon as she asks about the work experience he has had so far, Kurt smiles awkwardly and says that he only performed some simple tasks for the Flaming Dragon Fangs Adventure Group, the same group that later became SS Rank. And although he has been fired from the group, the receptionist reassures him, saying that this already counts as work experience, and besides, the group is well liked by people, which in turn will expand the opportunities that Kurt will have in the job market just for having been part of the group at some point. As soon as they finish the interview, the employee calls him to take the aptitude test, and as everyone in that world already knows, aptitudes are talents granted to them by God, therefore, they cannot be acquired in any other way. In this, Kurt is surprised by the possibility of discovering some hidden talent that he may have. But before, the employee informs him that aptitudes also have ranks, ranging from rank G, that is, without any talent, to rank SSS, which in this case is the highest rank that someone can reach. And well, after passing the aptitude test, Kurt gets rank G in all of them, thus he is considered a person without any talent for any combat ability. Therefore, the girl informs him that this great limitation will make it difficult for Kurt to find a job. Upon hearing this, the boy falls headfirst onto the table in disappointment. However, the employee reminds him that he could still have a more commercial job. After all, she hasn't tested his aptitude for things like forging or alchemy yet, as their technician is away at the moment and will only return in a week. However, Kurt says that in fact, he barely has any money left, and so he couldn't wait for long. At this, the girl tries to do another test with him, asking the boy to lift the sandbag next to them. In trying this, Kurt uses up a lot of his mana, but manages to lift the sandbag in the end. And then, the girl says that he can work with manual labor and tells him about a place that is hiring. At this, Kurt asks her to write him a letter of introduction so that he can work in that city. And as soon as he arrives at the site, Kurt is given the task of repairing an old wall, and before leaving, the guy tells him to do his best on the job. After all, they pay for the job done, and if Kurt works little, he will earn proportionally. And feeling all this pressure on his shoulders, Kurt puts all his effort into the work. And as soon as the employer returns to the site, he is amazed to see that the boy did a third of the wall in just 3 hours. Then he asks how Kurt managed to concrete the higher parts of the wall. And then the boy takes out a piece of wood that he himself lengthened to reach the higher parts and says that he used it to do this job. And seeing him so inspired with the work, the employer asks how much longer he intends to continue working there, and Kurt says that he wants to do it for another week. Upon hearing this, the employer dismisses him from work for the day. But the next day, Kurt increases his productivity even further, finishing an even larger part of the wall. At this point, the employer dismisses him from work completely, saying that he does not need to come anymore. After all, Kurt has already done a week's work in just 2 days. And upon hearing this, Kurt insists on continuing to work. However, the employer reminds him that there are other people who also need that job. So if the boy continues working there at that pace, he will end up taking jobs from other poor families who need that money. So the employer suggests that he go work in the capital, because in a busier place he will have much more work. Having said that, the employer pays Kurt the rest of his work and leaves the place. At this, the boy deduces that the employer was just wanting to get rid of him, and that is why he flattered him before running away, as a way to make that expulsion less painful for him. And well, upon returning to the hello work company, Kurt comes across a girl there named Ulicia, who argues with one of the employees because she wants to hire a minor and pay for the services according to the person's productivity. And since they don't do that kind of work, the receptionist forbids her from hiring the company's minors. Upon noticing all that commotion, the girl who was talking to Kurt goes over to the two of them, and upon hearing the contractor's conditions, she suggests that Ulicia recruit investors to develop the mine. As for Kurt, he hears the entire conversation from afar and is willing to work on the construction of the mine under the contractor's conditions, even though she may end up swindling him, since she won't make any payment in advance. But upon seeing that Kurt is just a weak boy, Ulicia refuses to have him work on her construction site. After all, she doesn't trust giving heavy work to a simple child. Instead, she asks to hire a strong dwarf. Then, the company employee tells her to go ahead 10 silver for hiring the strong dwarf. But upon hearing this, Ulicia says she doesn't have that money for now, and so she decides to accept Kurt's offer and hires him to build the mine. And after Kurt leaves the place with the contractor, one of the employees ends up falling after bumping into the sandbags that were in the way. Then, the other employee informs her that those bags are used to measure people's mana, and the more mana the individual has, the heavier the bag becomes. However, these items do not usually react when a normal person comes into contact with them, as the individual needs to have mana at the level of a royal court wizard to activate these magic bags, and that is precisely why they are difficult to handle. Having said all that, the employee tells her co-worker to take the bags outside, and as soon as she tries to lift them, the girl finds it strange that the bag is lighter with her carrying. After all, when Kurt did the same, he had a little more difficulty lifting them. And well, in the meantime, Kurt and Ulicia go to a small tent, in which the boy finds it strange that there's only one tent in the place and comments about it out loud. And as for Ulicia, she says what he already expected. In this case, she intends to sleep in the same tent with him. But upon hearing this, Kurt says that he cannot sleep in the same tent with a pretty girl. Upon hearing this, Ulicia starts to blush with embarrassment, and as for Kurt, he makes the situation even more awkward, saying that because he has traveled a lot, he has seen many people. However, she is still the most beautiful girl he has ever seen so far. And when she sees that he never stops with the exaggerated compliments, Ulicia grabs his collar and tells him to stop it. Furthermore, she informs him that she has been working as an adventurer since she was 10 years old, so there is no way she is that beautiful. And well, that same night, to go to the tent to sleep, Ulicia keeps watch to find out if Kurt would be the type of man who would attack her. But when she confirms that he will not do anything, she closes her eyes and sleeps more peacefully. And when she wakes up the next morning, Ulicia sees Kurt sleeping outside and his clothes organized. And when she sees that he was the one responsible for this, Ulicia thanks him for his kindness. Then she decides to start mining in some nearby area. But upon hearing that she intends to dig randomly, Kurt interrupts her and starts hunting for places more likely to find minerals. In doing so, he finds a rock, and upon breaking it, Kurt finds a crystal ore. Upon seeing this, Ulicia is amazed, because with just that ore they have already managed to reach a third of their goal. And when he finishes breaking the other rocks around, Kurt mines a significant amount of crystals, at which point Ulicia suggests that they take the crystals to sell. However, Kurt informs her that small crystals cannot be sold, so he decides to transform them into magic crystals. And after saying goodbye, Kurt stays in the forest and Ulicia goes to a guild to sell the magic crystals. And when asked by whom would have made those magic crystals, she just shows a coat of arms to the guard, proving that she works for the royal family. Upon seeing that, the guard apologizes and allows her to sell the magic crystals, at which point Ulicia asks to use their teleportation stone to return to the royal capital more quickly. And well, when going to a friend's store, Ulicia tries to sell one of the magic crystals produced by Kurt, when suddenly, her friend values the crystal at 10 gold coins, leaving Ulicia astonished. At that moment, she sells Kurt's other magic crystals, getting a total of 500 gold coins. At that moment, Ulicia's friend asked her to never sell those crystals anywhere else. After all, no other store will understand the real value of those magic crystals. Besides that, they will not use those crystals for anything important. And in addition to asking this, her friend also asked Ulicia to tell her who was responsible for producing that magic crystal. But upon hearing this request, Ulicia refuses to accept it right away. After all, she needs this person's authorization to tell her who he is. At this, the girl says that she is giving him an order. After all, she is a magician of the the royal court, therefore, she has the same status as an honorary count. And upon hearing this mini blackmail, Ulysses says that she no longer serves the royal family, therefore, she is not obliged to obey anyone's rules. At this, the girl descends from Olympus and makes a request as a friend of Ulysses, saying that she can offer Kurt the direction of a royal laboratory of research of magical technology, where he will act as an honorary baron. Upon hearing this much more convincing proposal, Ulysses decides to accept it, and then she goes to the Hello Work company to learn more about Kurt. And after having access to the boy's confidential information, Ulysses decides to leave the place. But before that, she gives 499 gold to the local employee and tells her to deliver all that money to Kurt when she sees him. And in addition, she gives an order directly from the royal family to the company employee, saying that she is forbidden to give any information about Kurt that is not for her. And to make the situation even worse for this overpowered protagonist, when she returns to the forest, the boy simply made a house using wood only in the time that she was away. I'm not believing this guy is very ripped off, and this anime is reminding me of the one from the SSS rank village, which killed all the bosses, so I really want to continue watching this here. If you also want to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you for sure in the next video. I win.